Hi there, guys. We are back in this book, One Voice, the story of William Wilberforce. And we are on chapter 3, which is called High School. And I'm going to read this section to you, and then I'm going to ask you some questions. So I want you to try to listen really closely. I want you to pause this video, go get a sheet of paper, okay, and a pencil or a pen. So pause the video, go get that. Okay, do you have it? All right, so then I'm going to read this to you, and I want you to listen as carefully as you can. And then at the end, we're going to do a little pop quiz, okay? And we're going to see how you do on the quiz, all right? It won't be for a grade, so don't worry, but I want you to try to listen as closely as you can. So here we go. High school. And this first poem, okay, so remember, each one of these is written like a little poem. This is a really unique book in that they're all little poems, okay? So the first one is called Family Number 3. Grandfather brought me to his alma mater, Pocklington School. He paid the schoolmaster 40 times a laborer's annual salary so I could board with the master's family and not in the dorms. So I move in with family number 3. And alma mater, okay, it uses the word alma mater there. And that means grandfather brought me to his alma mater. That means the school that the grandfather graduated from. Your alma mater is the schools that you graduated from. You can have a school alma mater and a college alma mater. All right, virtue et veritate. Pocklington's motto is virtue et veritate, okay? And that's written right there. And that is a Latin phrase, okay? And a goal to strive for, to learn, to act with. Virtue, character, excellence, courage, manliness, and truth. All right, this one's called Letter Home. William's writing these too. We'll assume William's writing them unless I tell you otherwise. My dear uncle, how good God is to me. What reason have I to be thankful? It is impossible to sum up all his mercies, and his benefits are innumerable. I will give anything I own in the world to be with you again, yet I trust that everything is ordered for the best, and if we put our whole trust and confidence in him, we shall never be confounded. All right, this next poem is called Education for My Son, and this one is by Elizabeth Wilberforce. So this is his mom writing this. Now that I have rescued William from that den of righteousness. Okay, so she's talking about how the aunt and uncle were just surrounding him with Christianity. So now that I've rescued William from that den of righteousness, I must plan his course of study. Good parties, the theater, dancing, fine dinings, and plenty of wine. Card parties with gambling. Why else have wealth if not to have good times and to live carefree? And this one is called Dear Aunt Hannah. So now William is writing his Aunt Hannah. One of the greatest misfortunes I had whilst at Hull was not being able to hear the blessed word of God, as my mama would not let me go to church on a Sunday afternoon. But the Lord was every day granting me some petition, and I trust I can say that I increased in the knowledge of God and Jesus Christ, whom he had sent, whom to know is life eternal. And, okay. This one's called How to Gain Popularity. Scottish poet James Beattie wrote The Minstrel about how the poet's mind develops under the influence of nature. I memorized the 558 lines of the poems and happily entertained my classmates when they begged me to recite. My teachers praised my fine diction and elocution, my careful pronunciation and beautiful delivery. The voice of an angel, they say. I'm just happy for friends. Okay, I'm actually going to pause my reading, okay, to ask you a couple of questions. So here's the first one I'm going to ask you. See if you can remember this. Do you remember what William, this number 1, what William said virtue et veritate meant? Do you remember any of the words I used to describe virtue et veritate? So write down your answer if you can remember anything about that. Pause the video if you need a little extra time. Okay, and the second question is, how did Wilberforce's mother want him educated? And pause the video on that one if you need a little bit more time. Okay, all right. So now I'm going to give you answers to those. So the first question's answer was that virtue meant something like good character, excellence, courage, manliness, it said, being a good man. And then how did Wilberforce's mother want him educated? She wanted him to enjoy the world, including the enticements and riotous living, like drinking, gambling, parties, and dancing. So remember, he's got his mom and dad or his dad has passed away, right? He's got his mom who does not want him to raise to know Christ and wants him to live this kind of just very, rich, profitable, shallow life. And then he's got his aunt and uncle who he stayed with, who have taught him about Jesus. And then he's got, thirdly, the university, high school that he's staying at and boarding at. Okay, so 2 masters. On the one hand, 2 years with aunt and uncle. On the weekend, learning the ways of God. This was some years back, and I was young. On the other hand, trips home to the Hull with mother, the glittery world of entertainment and merriment. This is now, and I am growing up. This one's called Dear Aunt and Uncle. If I should write to you, what will I say? I've put my Bible away. Perhaps I will write another day. Maybe. So he's not having his Bible out as much. This one's called the Tudor Manor House. In August, I turned 15. In November, grandfather died. Now my father is joined by another in the family burial plot in Beverly. Grandfather left me shares in his business and the Tudor Manor House, Markington Hall. The tenants there provide a steady income. I wasn't disinherited. So remember, his grandfather had threatened to not give him any of the inheritance, and he didn't end up doing that. So he's rich now just through his mother and his grandfather. So this is called an essay on my current belief. And he says this: we must learn to bear whatever befalls us, so as on the one hand not to be too much elevated or overjoyed by the smiles of prosperity, nor on the other too much depressed or cast down by the frowns of adversity. The stings of fortune, how severe soever they may seem to us, it is most likely we deserve. For we ought to learn to bear with patience what we cannot possibly avoid. Life is a very uncertain thing at best. Therefore, we ought not to rely upon any good fortune, since perhaps this moment we may enjoy the greatest worldly happiness, the next be plunged into the deepest abyss of unutterable misery. So the question now, this question number 3. So pull out your sheet of paper. Question number 3, and I want you to write these down. I'm going to ask you to upload the picture of the assignment to me, even though I'm not going to grade it, okay? As a young man, what did Wilberforce believe? So pause the video, and based on that poem I just read, an essay on my current belief, what do you think Wilberforce believed? And if you aren't sure, rewind the video and go listen to it again. Okay, and question number 4 is, do you think he's right? Do you think Wilberforce did something to deserve his family's wealth? So it's kind of 2 questions. Do you think he's right in his beliefs, and do you think he did something to deserve his family's wealth? All right, and I'm going to give you the answer to question 3. As a young man, what did Wilberforce believe? And he believed that we should take what comes, either good or bad, as we probably deserve it, and the world is an uncertain thing, letting us rejoice one moment and be miserable in it the next. And so what do you think about that? Do you think that, and that was the question 4, which there isn't a right answer to, do you think he's right? And how do you feel about that? It's not really a faith-filled statement, but it's not really an unfaith-filled statement, but what do you think about it? Do you think that's true? Sometimes I'm going to ask you questions and there isn't necessarily a right or wrong answer, and that would actually be something to talk to your parents about, right? Ask them what they think. Do you think that we should just take what comes, either good or bad? We probably deserve it, and the world is an uncertain thing, and let us rejoice one moment and be miserable the next. Because you remember too, in the Bible, we don't get what we deserve. Thank goodness, right? God is full of grace. So just some things to think about, okay? All right, this is called In Other Words. Many things happen to people, good and bad both. Endure the bad, make the most of the good, muddle through. God, if he's there, is at a distant remove. So he's obviously right now just not believing in God anymore after being gone from his aunt and uncle's help for so long. This one's called Not For Me. Business depends on ledgers and bills and contracts. I can't be an accountant for the rest of my life. My cousin loves this work. Let him do it. And this one's called Lacking Anything Better to Do. My family doesn't go to university, but I have nothing better to do and no direction in life. So since the schoolmaster recommends St. John College in Cambridge. I guess I'll go. Why not? All right, so that is actually question number 5. Why did Wilberforce go to university? So I'm going to read it again, okay? My family doesn't go to university, but I have nothing better to do and no direction in life. So since schoolmaster recommends St. John's College in Cambridge, I guess I'll go. Why not? So this is in England. So question 5, why did he go to university? And the answer would be he didn't have anything better to do. Okay? So now we're at chapter 4, which is called University. My tutor's advice. At Pocklington, I heard, study harder, think of the future, learn all you can. At Cambridge, my tutor says, why should you study hard? Your fortune is already made. Don't take the work seriously. Enjoy yourself, host parties, make friends. Your connections will be more valuable than any degree. And when he catches me studying, he laughs and tells me to play. And since lectures are not compulsory, I think I shall. So he's saying that the lectures at the university, you didn't have to go to them. So this tutor, one of these, the tutor says, don't even go, just party, just have a good time. This one's called Yorkshire Press. At night, my neighbor raps the back of his fireplace with the tongs. The rat-tat saying, Thomas Gisborne, you get over here. Wilberforce's room is always Oh, I apologize. Let me start that one again. This is called Yorkshire Pies, and it's by Thomas Gisborne. We don't know who Thomas is yet. Hopefully we'll find out who he is, okay? So at night, my neighbor raps the back of his fireplace with the tongs. The rat-tat saying, Thomas Gisborne, you get over here. Wilberforce's room is always hopping, young men supping on pie and ale. These Yorkshire pies, each 30 pounds, stuffed with various meats and dripping butter, satiate us all. I stay later than I should. I know I must rise in the morning, unlike my host. Okay, so this is Wilberforce's neighbor. And the neighbor hears, like, when he hears the room kind of hopping, he's like, oh, I should go over there. They're eating these, like, amazingly rich pies and food, and, oh, it'd be so good. But I have to get up in the morning, even though Wilberforce just stays in bed. So we're getting an idea of what Wilberforce is like. Okay, and this is by Thomas Gisborne again, and this one is called Debates. And he says, Wilberforce speaks with a silver tongue as jokes and wit flow freely. He loves debate, that verbal sparring, and we, his friends, listen and engage. So there's friends, and he's very witty, and he has a good, he's able to talk easily, okay? And silver tongue, I need to look that up, but I believe silver tongue means, let me look that up, and I'll attach it to this video, exactly what silver tongue means. I should have written that down already. I think it means that it's a very, like, he knows a lot of things and he speaks very well, but let me double check. Clever Enough by William Wilberforce. My friend said to me, Thomas Gisborne is very clever, but then he studies all the time. You, on the other hand, are clever enough to get by with hardly studying at all. At 18, this one is called by William Wilberforce. In October 1776, I started Cambridge. I was 17. 1 year later, Uncle William died, leaving me wealth and his villa at Wimbledon. I don't have to do anything. I could do anything, but what will I do? Sometimes I wonder this in between parties and dances and cards and plays. Inventory by William Wilberforce. What do I like to do most in the world? Singing, debating, meeting new people. Can a career be built on such as these? Cousin Abel Smith just entered politics. If I think of singing as speaking, maybe politics is the place for me. So that's the last question in that section. And that's question 6. Why was politics a reasonable career choice for Wilberforce? And the answer was, by personality, he liked debating, meeting new people, and using his voice. An ideal mix for a politician. All right, and this is called Chapter 5, Election. And this is by, this particular poem is called Observation. So we're in a new section, okay, Chapter 5, it's called Election. Observation. Westminster House, beside the Thames, where Parliament is held. The House of Commons, the House of Lords. There in the Strangers' Gallery, above the representatives, onlookers watch the proceedings and sometimes each other. And I'm going to put a picture up there of some of those places so you can see them as you're reading, okay? So if you click over, you're going to see some images in this particular assignment, and that's what those are about. Two Williams, this one is called, okay? Watching the House of Commons in St. Stephen's Chapel, okay? And how he writes this is he's got one column and one column. So he's going to meet two different Williams, okay? Or are the two Williams going to be him? Not sure yet, okay? So it says, I spy another William, last name Pitt, 6 feet tall, born in 1759 May, Prime Minister father dead now, Cambridge man, Pembroke College, entered at 14, passion for politics. And then he's going to spy another William. I spy another William, last name Wilberforce, 5 feet 2 inches tall, born in 1759 August, merchant father dead now, Cambridge man, St. John's College, entered at 17, directionless. Maybe we'll be friends, the tall and the small. So what two Williams met in the House of Commons? And the answer would be William Pitt, who's the son of the Prime Minister, meets William Wilberforce. Those are the two Williams. A Primer on British Government by William Pitt. So this is by the other William now. Two houses. House of Lords appointed for life by the King. House of Commons, representatives elected by voters. Elections happen irregularly, only when the government grows gridlocked. Then the Prime Minister petitions the King, who dissolves Parliament. The new election brings in new representatives, but not a new government. For why would the Prime Minister petition for change until he was sure he would get a favorable outcome, unless the King decides for change himself? And this is about the British government and how they work, and it's a little bit different than the American government. Challenging by William Wilberforce. To change the law, one house initiates a bill and passes it. Then the other must pass it too. Otherwise, there's no new law. Change does not happen easily. And that's true in America, right? If we get a law through, it's got to go through the House of Representatives and the Senate. And so a lot of times it's really hard to get a law in place. The Best Speakers by William Wilberforce. With excellent voice control, they sprinkle their arguments with witty phrases and literary references and historical references. So you feel smart listening to them, knowing what they're talking about, delighting in their thoughts, their words. I can do this too. All right, this one's called What to Do About the American Colonies. This whole winter of 1779 to 1780, Pitt and I watched the House of Commons debate what to do about the American colonies. We Williams think they should be free to go, for how can a long and expensive war ever bring about a compliant people? Foolishness to attempt it. Prime Minister North, though, will hear none of it, and the government grows gridlocked. And gridlocked means they can't make a decision, okay? So he said, let's just let the colonies go. They're not likely to be killed into submitting to us. Let's just let them have their life over in America. A Gamble by William Wilberforce. Pitt and I suspect the King will dissolve Parliament any day now. Now, in the spring of 1780, he will soon be 21, but I will not have a birthday until August. If the King calls for an election before August 24, I will be disqualified, for I am not yet of age. But I don't mind a gamble, so I will start to campaign now. How to Win an Election by William Wilberforce. Politics is but a giant game of chess. Manipulate the pieces, outmaneuver opponents. I must defeat one of the two members of Parliament in Hull. They are both backed by powerful lords, but I have some advantages on my side too. My family contributed money to build a new dock, so I have name recognition, and people are grateful. I have a personal fortune, and it costs but £2, 2 shillings to buy a man's vote. Is that distasteful to you? Better to offer money voluntarily than what some do on election day, lock voters in a tavern until the day is done and the cooped men emerge, too drunk to remember what they didn't do. In London, I frequent the docks and speak with merchants from the Hull. If they will travel to vote for me, I will cover the £10 for their trip. Take a visit home at my expense. All you need to do is vote for me. Okay? So, last question. How did Wilberforce win this election? Pause the video and answer. He had name recognition, money to buy votes, and he threw an enormous party with free food to anyone who wanted to come and vote for him, right? Okay, this is called Pitt too. Pitt also. So William Pitt. While I campaign in Hull, Pitt campaigns in Cambridge. He lacks the money I have and fears he makes little headway. This one's called 21 by William Wilberforce. I invited everyone in Hull to my 21st birthday celebration. A local butcher roasted an 800-pound ox for almost 30 hours. Fields of people came and shared my beef and ale. It was a blowout bash, and now I am 21. King George, feel free to call an election. This one's called On My Birthday. The king called an election on my birthday, but we didn't find out until the next day. Results by William Wilberforce. In Hull, I took 1,126 votes. The other two men combined took 1,126 votes. In London, on October 31, 1780, I became one of the 558 representatives elected to help govern. In Cambridge, Pitt came in last, son of a prime minister, not elected to parliament. Okay, and that's the end of this section. Take a look at the pictures and the other stuff I've posted about this section as you're reading. And we will check in with you later. Bye, everybody.